Hi, my name's Adrian and welcome to Alexander Technique London. So this time we're going to be looking at the vocalized R. In the last video I did the whispered R, which is a very traditional Alexander Technique procedure. The vocalized R isn't quite the same, doesn't fall within the same tradition really. You don't often see Alexander teachers doing it. But it is still evident. There's footage of Patrick McDonald doing it with his students. He was one of Alexander's first trainees and often worked as his right-hand man. And he often did them with his pupils. And I wanted to cover it here for a similar reason that I did with the whispered R, to make you realize that it's not just a vocal exercise. I think one of the reasons the whispered R isn't so popular is people think it's only to do with vocal performance, which I admit actually was its genesis. That's why it was created. But there are actually benefits outside of that that helps you down-regulate, quieten your nervous system down. And it's just another area to observe and reduce tension within the throat. Why not? If we're going to be looking to find more freedom within ourselves, let's find it as everywhere, basically. So the vocalized R would probably seem more like a typical a vocal exercise for singers and actors. And absolutely they should be doing it. But if you're not an actor or singer or someone who does a lot of public speaking, there is still value for similar reasons as the whispered R. But there's an added component where the vibration of the vocalization can pass through your body. And, you know, if you are a singer, through your head, and you can feel it, you can physically touch yourself and feel it pass through. Now, the question might be, is why would that be important? Well, the more restriction there is within the torso, the tighter you are, the less the torso will vibrate. So it becomes a way of observing whether you've got tension held within the torso, and a way of sort of releasing that a bit as well. It is a vocalized R, but actually being vocalized, you could do it on all the vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, and U. I'll only be covering the R. It's good enough for most purposes. If you are an actor or singer, feel free to go through all of them. You'll notice, and probably are already aware anyway from your work, that the E sound is the hardest one. It's the one that has the most restriction in the throat and the vocal mechanism to create that sound, E, as opposed to an R, which is a lot softer. So it's useful to work through all the vowel sounds for that reason, to recognize the difference it takes of muscle usage within the vocal mechanisms and how you can do it most freely. But not being a singer or an actor, I'm just going to work with the R. And what we want to do is place one hand, I just want to avoid my microphone here, one hand high up on the chest and the other hand lower down on the rib cage. And your hands there are to basically feel the vibration of your torso. So you can make a judgment and a value judgment of how well that's resonating through the body. And you'll get a sense of it vibrating through the voice as well. The more you do it, you'll work on the tone. You can listen to the sound of it and let that be an indication of the freedom you have in your throat. Now, something I found personally when working with singers, one aspect of this they find hard, which the general public find easier, is they're obsessed with having an absolute pitch and singing a note. And that's actually not what we want to do in this case. We just find a register that's natural for our torso and our body and our vocal mechanisms that it vibrates nicely through. So, as with the whispered R, and you do need to watch that video because this is an adjunct to the whispered R. A quick reminder that the jaw doesn't open like that. I'll exaggerate, but it kind of goes forward and down. We want that movement with the jaw going forward and down. And you want a nice, soft kind of face, a lift in the eyes, almost a sparkle in the eyes, and a lift in the cheeks, almost like a smile. And you basically make an R. Ah. My voice is a little sore this morning. Well, not sore, but I can feel there's a a little something going on. It doesn't feel as strong as normal, which I hadn't noticed until I did that. Improved a bit already just from doing that. I won't keep doing it to prove a point, but my voice is improving from doing it. But what I'm feeling is through my hands. How much can I vibrate my hands through the torso? In other words, can I let that vibration go through my body so it's free? Your lower hand, you're more likely to feel much less. It's got further to travel. If you don't feel anything with the lower hand, so be it. It's just the ability to make an observation. And in time, maybe you will start to notice it. And it obviously will be much less than the higher hand. This higher hand, you should really feel vibrate. Now, there's an added part of this. I did mention down regulation, which happens as a natural byproduct of long out breaths. It's just a physiological response. But there's something to do with the vibration itself that seems to calm the nervous system down. People who chant, maybe, from a meditation point of view, and people, spiritual practices where there's chanting involved, they often find they get very down-regulated from it. In addition to the long out breaths, there's something about that vibration that seems to add a nice relaxing aspect to it. So it's that aspect as well is quite useful to really kind of bring the nervous system down. I did read something a while ago that a potential reason for that is the vibration vibrates the vagus nerve, and that helps to downregulate the nervous system. I personally have a slight reaction whenever I hear anything to do with the vagus nerve. It seems to, over the last sort of 10 years or so, become a bit of a panacea for all things. And I end up feeling a little skeptical about some of the things I read about how to activate the vagus nerve. I think there might be a bit of overkill there, but maybe this is the reason. Maybe this is the reason that this vocalization does, if you like, massage. It's like a little sonic massage, the vagus nerve. But I think there's something about it, just the nervous system as a whole, feeling that vibration is something we can really release into. So give that a go. I'll keep it short this time. I know I usually ramble on a bit longer, but the Whispered R video is the main detail in there. So you can watch the Whispered R video and then add the Vocalised R afterwards. And I really recommend you do a Whispered R first, because you're working on the minimum amount you can do with the vocal mechanisms to really make sure you've got the least interference in the throat. So that then when you start adding the vocal cords, which takes, a little more effort with a lowercase c, not an uppercase c, but, you are using more of the vocal mechanisms and the muscles to do that. So you want to start from the minimal, and then you start adding some muscle usage to vocalize properly. And you're looking to do that with minimal effort and maximum vibration. And just give it a go, see what you think. It's just something to explore for its own sake, really. And it's another area to observe whether you reduce interference within yourself through the vibration and create a bit more freedom. And if you are interested in vocal work, obviously, well, it makes sense anyway. Okay, I shall see you next time. Take care. Bye.